Welcome, everybody. Excited for another session here of the Power Platform Master Series. Today, we're going to talk post Microsoft Ignite announcements. There was a lot of great ones, especially here on the Power Platform. So we're really happy to have you guys here today. We're going to dive into a couple of topics exactly. We're going to talk Copilot with David Hathaway. We're going to be diving into automating some pages with Joanna. And then, as well, Tom Bowman's going to wrap up with some apps and governance topics. So, really excited for our speakers here. These are all people on our great South OU Power Platform TS team here in the South. So, really excited for you to meet some of them and hear what they have to say. I think you've met David Hathaway on previous recordings before. So, with that, just a couple housekeeping. If we move on to the next slide here. Welcome once again, Power Platform Admin Series. We now have a great place for you to go and see previously recorded sessions at on our QR code here. So scan that. That'll take you to previous recordings, the previous slide decks, all the great stuff we released after the fact, so that you guys can get in and see anything we've already previously talked about. And of course, our motives here at Power Platform Master Series is to let you guys know of all the great things that are available here on the Power Platform. So we talk about all the new topics, new features. We like to bring in guest speakers to talk about some of those things specifically. And like I said before, we're going to talk about post-Ignite announcements prevalent to the Power Platform. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to David Hathaway, and he's going to go ahead and get us started here.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. So I'm going to dive right in just in the interest of time to keep us moving, because there are a lot of good announcements and we're going to try and fit it all into 1 hour. So we'll kick off a lot of announcements, unsurprisingly, around AI, and particularly when it comes to the Power Platform. That means Copilot Studio, right? So the tagline here is just around agents. And before I get into the specific announcements, I do just want to level set a little bit so that we all kind of have a foundation for understanding, right? Microsoft has a lot of Copilots. We talk about Copilot Studio, Copilot for M365, Copilot for Sales, Copilot for this, Copilot for that. Now agents are in the mix. What makes copilots different from agents? So this slide gives a little bit of a breakdown. What I want to focus your attention on is sort of the bottom row here. Think of copilots as the user interface for AI. It's where people actually go and interact with these systems. And then agents are skill sets or kind of abilities that you can build so that your Copilot can go do specific things or pull specific information or execute on specific tasks. So that might be connected to Copilot, where a user is actually asking for something, and then the Copilot maybe leverages an agent to go retrieve information or execute on a task, or it could be event-driven or autonomous. And so when we're talking about agents, right, we can have these two, and agents, some agents will be built by us. Agents are also potentially going to be built by third parties and potentially, put out on a marketplace, or maybe just to encourage people to be using their platforms, maybe offered for free. And then you can also build your own custom agents within Copilot Studio. So those are kind of the different ways that you can take advantage of different agents. And I think this graphic, again, hopefully helps clarify, right? You can have a whole constellation of agents that a particular Copilot is taking advantage of to serve the needs of an end user. And Copilot Studio you can use that to build the agents and orchestrate the interaction. And then, of course, you have your Copilot control system for governance. Speaking on the spectrum of agents again, so not just who can create agents, but what different kinds of agents might there be. You can have kind of standard RAG scenarios, task-driven scenarios where it's like, hey, go update a field on a particular record, or go kick off a process. And then you have autonomous agents, right, which again are those event-triggered agents that operate independently. You kind of give it an end goal, and it determines what the right steps are to go accomplish that task. So the first two are generally available today, and autonomous agents is still in preview. And I don't have access to chat, so I'm just going to dive right into some of our announcements. So from the M365 Copilot interface, we now have basically a fly out, like a lightweight Copilot Studio to start building agents that can be embedded with Copilot for M365. And so instead of having to go jump over to the full Copilot Studio IDE and like probably open a new tab and then have to do all that orchestration to say, hey, I want to extend Copilot for M365, you can start creating agents right from the context of that primary Copilot for M365 user interface. The next thing to cover is security and governance. So again, we have that Copilot control pane, which is really a consolidation of a lot of the governance and security controls that we have for Copilots and agents. You can see some of the nitty-gritty security and governance kind of points, right? More controls to govern agentic capabilities. And you can disable chat transcript logging, single tenant Azure app registration, network isolation scenarios. So all the traditional security and governance that the Power Platform offers when it comes to copilots and agents is being centralized to try to make that user experience and the management and governance a little bit easier. So specifically for the autonomous agent capabilities, right, as we discussed earlier, these agents are going to be able to be triggered by events and not just conversations. And so you can tell your agent to listen for and react to an event, and then use generative AI, right, by giving it some directions and goals. The generative AI models on the back end can determine what the right actions are to take and cascade and orchestrate across potentially other agents as well, long-running business processes, and ultimately go out and accomplish that business process or take action in the way that you're looking for it to take action. So there was a specific breakout session at Ignite that dove specifically into this capability. But this is definitely one of the big announcements in terms of leveling up the capabilities for leveraging AI within an organization. The other cool thing is that if it needs feedback, right, it can reach out. So it'll follow human guardrails and the initial instructions that are given, and it'll prompt, it'll reach out for help if it needs assistance in getting context to accomplish its task. And then you also have, right, all of the monitoring and analytics, right, just like you have with all your other agents that you build in Copilot Studio to understand the performance, provide feedback, and iterate and improve on these agents as you build them. One of the other themes that we've seen with announcements across the Power Platform, and this one fits into that bucket, is just supporting developers who are familiar with writing code to make them more comfortable and give them a more seamless experience moving between some of the more visual-based building experiences that we offer across the Power Platform, and also, translating that into code where those developers who are familiar and comfortable with leveraging code can operate in those realms. And that's specifically valuable in certain scenarios where they might need to extend and customize their solutions. And so what the key announcement here is for an agents SDK that we will be offering, so software developer kit. And this is specifically for the Microsoft 365 agents. And so Copilot Studio will kind of support that, as Copilot Studio is the home for building and orchestrating those agents. The Pro Code SDK integrations will kind of tie back to Copilot Studio as well. And the SDK capabilities that are being discussed here, right, include custom models, leveraging semantic kernel, and just really customizing kind of how AI is leveraged in these M365 agents. And then also orchestrating multi-agent systems where you might have a primary user endpoint that then leverages, as I mentioned earlier, a constellation of different agents. So for any given interaction with that Copilot, it might go find the specific agent that is tailor-made for that task, or leverage a subset of the agents that it has integrated to that Copilot to help achieve the end goal of the user. And then the other big announcement we had for copilots and agents around integrating with other systems was leveraging generative AI capabilities for IVR scenarios. So just supporting the ability to integrate with customer service platforms and building agents that can be multimodal, so you can interact with them via text, but also do native voice integrations, so that you can interact with both modalities and kind of switch back and forth. You can get DTMF capabilities, so that traditional kind of menu option where for option A, press 1, and for option B, press 2, can integrate with those sorts of menu options, and hand off to live agents as needed. So a lot of capabilities here. And this is one of those areas in the customer service realm where we're seeing a lot of early traction with generative AI and really, really incredible ROI. So just kind of doubling down on the momentum in that area, and bringing more capability and more value to your organizations. And I think that's just about all I had for Copilot Studio. I am recalling off the top of my head, I didn't build a slide for it, but one of the other key announcements that wasn't part of a breakout, but was actually included, I believe Scott Guthrie made the announcement in the keynote, is that we're also enabling organizations to leverage pay-as-you-go as a licensing option for Copilot Studio and agents that are built in Copilot Studio. So the previous paradigm was prepaid message packs, so 25,000 messages per month. And you had to prepay and sort of estimate what your usage was going to be. And really, when you kind of divide the messages out by the monthly cost per pack, it was 0.8 of a cent per message per month. And with pay-as-you-go, so there's a little bit of a discount for prepaid, but with a pay-as-you-go model, it's a cent per message kind of run rate and you're only paying for the messages, right, that you consume. So you don't prepay up front, you just pay as you go. Just another licensing option to just add flexibility for organizations that are looking to build out their custom agents, take advantage of these capabilities within their organization. So that's an exciting new piece of flexibility from the licensing side. Tom, do you want to take over driving? And I think Joanna, you're up next with Power Automate.
Awesome, thanks.
You bet. Just give me 1 second here and I will share content out.
Thanks, Tom. I think, yeah, there we go. There's some animations there. All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm also going to be in power mode, going fast here because we only have an hour, going over the new features of Power Automate from Ignite and also Pages. Next page, Tom. And feel free to add any questions in the chat if you guys have them, of course. So we're going to go through 4 different phases or different sections of Power Automate, first starting with Discover, which will include process and task mining capabilities. Next slide. All right, new and exciting, we are launching process simulations. What this is going to allow you to test business changes using machine learning models to identify what the impact of the changes would be on your end-to-end process. So for example, if you want to know what it looks like to increase caseload, change the duration of a certain task or activity, you can now do so inside of simulations, all inside of process mining. Next slide. All right, moving quickly through the automate portion. So we're really going to move into the AI agentic theme of things here, as David had mentioned a little bit earlier as well. Next slide. All right, starting with advanced document processing with AI and GPT, you can now intelligently extract and process unstructured data through simple prompting experience side of Power Automate. As you can see here, it's uploading a document, and using AI and GPT, we are able to now extract the data of unstructured data through the prompting experience of Copilot. Next slide. Generative actions. This is using AI-powered steps directly in your cloud flows for smarter and more direct automation. This will allow you to create a plan of action that allows generative AI to use reasoning materials in order to make decisions about what happens next. So again, making it very easy for users or makers to utilize natural language and generative AI to build flows. Next slide. Copilot Expression Assistant. This will allow you to create expressions inside the Power Automate through natural language, making it easier to apply new expressions in different actions of your flow. All right. Then we have the monitoring section of our automation. This is really cool. Record with Copilot. So now you can record your screen and your voice using Copilot, and it will now record your actions and then create an automated process utilizing your recording as well. So making it really fast for us to create a desktop automation right from your recording. Next slide. And not only do we have the record function, we now have repair. So after you record your desktop flow or automation, Copilot would actually find the differences. If, let's say, for this example, we change a button color and also the labeling of the button. Copilot is able to identify the new labeling from the previous, but also being able to make recommendations of that flow as well. So it's going to tee up some recommendations and you just have to say accept, and it would update the flow for you just as it runs, versus before you would have to stop the flow and make the edits yourself. All right. And we have a new automation center as well. This will also be able to show you lots of recommendations. You would be able to see all of your activities, all of your flows through different tenants, and it would also surface the recommendations for your different flows as well. You can also use the Copilot feature to ask the different statuses of your flows, and it would also surface recommendations here as well, which just makes it really unique and centralized for makers to control and administer and monitor their flows. Right. And all of this wouldn't be possible with the highest security focus that we have here at Microsoft. So we can talk about the security features that we have updated. If you are using CyberArk for your place to store your secrets, you can now extract those credentials and secrets in Power Automate Desktop through actions, drag and drop. Next slide. We've also made a lot of updates on logs. We've heard your feedback from our community, and we've expanded the capacity storage for the capacity to be gigabytes. So now you can have gigabytes and gigabytes of logs for every run. And you can also analyze those logs at scale with our integrated Microsoft Fabric and Azure Synapse ability as well. In our December release, you can now have progressive logging. This really allows the maker to see in near real-time logs. For example, if you have logs that are running very long processes, such as maybe a payroll process, you no longer have to wait for the flow to finish to see the logs appear. You can analyze them in near real time. And finally, as you know, all of our artifacts stored in Power Automate are encrypted at both rest and in transit. But now you have the ability to bring your own option to store your own keys for extra security as well. So if you didn't want even Microsoft to see any of your data, you can bring in your own stored security or extra security to this as well. Now, quickly moving to Power Pages. We split this again into 3 different sections, but really in a nutshell, you're looking at agentic AI focus, high efficiency and security themed for Power Pages as well. So we're going to go over the first 2 updates under AI-driven development. Next slide. So we are now able to create a site with Copilot. So now you can just describe in natural language to Copilot what kind of end users or outcome you're desired to build the site for. And Copilot is now able to build the template out in the best user outcome and experience for you versus before. So now you can just talk to Copilot and it would do all of those things for you. An extension of that would be pages and styling, design and styling. This is also something that we heard from our community that we wanted more options. So instead of just the regular standard templates, you're now able to utilize Copilot to extend the design as well. And also adding to that, we have forms. Forms is something that's highly utilized within Pages. We've added the ability to have multi-step forms here for for our makers as well, making it easy and high efficiency. All right, we're going super fast now. Okay, so as you know, if you develop in Pages, some of us are pro code. So therefore, we've actually extended the integration with Virtual Studios and also GitHub. So now within Power Pages, you are able to sync back to Pages from Virtual Studios interaction with natural language, and even code can be checked in natural language as well. This is in preview. All right, next slide. Oh, okay. Next slide. All right, so Pages is not just only for the makers, but also the end users. So we made some updates here. Those who consume the sites now can have their own site copilot for end users, giving the ability to create guardrails, giving the makers the ability to create guardrails for end users to navigate the portal, utilizing Site Copilot, and also surfacing information to only authenticated users. This is really important because you wouldn't want different information surfaced to different people. So therefore, authenticated users will now have specific information and Site Copilots specific for them as well. Next slide. We stuck.
Let's see here. There we go.
All right. So then we have AI-driven site search and also web summarization. Now you can describe to Copilot the lost train of thought. Now you can describe to Copilot the function that you want to complete, and it will return not only the results, but also summarize the results and give you the best path forward in your sites as well. This links with web summarization because then users can now look at a summarized version of the website without scrolling through different sections of the site as well to be able to gather information quickly. Next slide. All right, also in preview, we have AI-driven forms assistant and also data insights. This allows multimodal functionality. So it would be able to help your end users complete forms using multimodal formats. So let's say if you have maybe a passport to update, you can take photos of your passport, take photos of your different pages that you've been and upload them in different forms as well. Next slide. Not only can you have multimodal, you can now complete the form in different aspects of your site. So for example, in this case, we are completing the form right in our chat using Copilot in natural language to complete forms as well. So giving your end users a different experience in completing different forms. Slide. And lastly, we're going to talk about different connectors. Next slide. All right, we have extended the external data sources and connectors, so you can now connect to your external data sources like SQL, Salesforce, and use out-of-box data components as well. In extension to that, we now have e-signature and also payment options. This is something that our community also gave us feedback on that we wanted to build and have the ability to collect signatures and add payments providers, making easier and seamless to process for your customers as well. You just have to enable that. All right, last but not least, covering security and governance. So for our external sites, it's very important for us to make it very secure and also administer. Thank you. So we have now a new view to be able to have makers observe and also monitor all aspects of their sites, to be able to look at inventory, security views inside of the new Power Platform Admin Center. Next slide. Things like you can observe is really usage insights, licensing insights, You can see across all of your tenants, along with security sorted by different information, maybe by authentication types, external integration, and also anonymous access enabled as well. Next slide. And then coming soon, you can ask Copilot the usage insights, just like what we did for automation as well. I think that brings my section to a close.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, you bet. Sorry for the stickiness. Some of those slides
I had to go
there.
super fast at one time.
My apologies as I was navigating that for you. I'd like to thank everybody for joining the call. My name is Tom Bowman. I'm a technical architect here at Microsoft, and I'm excited to share with you really a couple of things. We're going to cover off on the security announcements and the Power Apps announcements under my section. And just to highlight on the front side of this, if you're like me, it's kind of like, yeah, get to the point, Tom. Well, I've kind of broken this out into the too long didn't read summarizations for you. So I think the big one that's made a splash at both Power Platform Community Conference as well as Ignite is the excitement around the plan designer. And so what you're kind of seeing with all of these new announcements is this coalescence towards being able to leverage the platform for making intelligent apps. So we can do that now by creating a plan, optimizing those plans and apps with agents, and then scale that out on a fully managed platform. So with Plan Designer, really exciting functionality that will be ready for preview here in December. Makers can describe their business problem in natural language, and then they can add context to that by simply uploading pictures of legacy applications, charts that you may have that could have been done in, let's say, Visio as an example, or pictures of diagrams. All of that can be added to Copilot, and it will generate user roles, data models, and user interfaces. And then another big announcement inside of Power Apps, continuing with the excitement around agents, is how we can leverage agents to do both attended and unattended data operations. So something attended might be dragging a form up into a model-driven app to have it decipher it and fill out information in the model-driven app, or to create custom agents that can do unattended actions such as review records as they're being entered into Dataverse. So we'll start by taking a look at our focus and emphasis around AI first workspaces and some of the functionality around Plan Designer, as well as in-app agents for data entry and exploration. Starting with the Plan Designer here, just a little bit of an illustration for how I can type in the business problem that I want to solve for. Copilot will take that information. It will look at the user roles that will be relevant for that. So if I'm building an event management application, I've got different personas like the attendee and the scheduler, and then it will go out and build a data model for me. And it's going to create that in Dataverse, and it's going to give me the ability to realize all of my primary and foreign key relationships. And then it's going to go through and come up with what it thinks are going to be the best user experiences for each of those different personas. So I'm tremendously excited about this, particularly because it really does democratize app development from everybody from the sort of casual app creator down to the professional developer. Let's see here. Moving on to the data entry agent. I think that this is really exciting functionality. Building on the work of Copilot, you'll see in the animation for this demonstration the ability to drag and drop files onto a form where the data entry agent can take a look at the information and contextualize that to the type of record that we're creating. So if I have a Word document or a PDF, I can take that information, it will go through, read the metadata, and then do its best job to fill that data out on the model-driven app form for me. I'll have full capability to accept changes either on a field-by-field basis, or I can simply accept all of the changes for that particular record. So expect that functionality to start rolling out now in the monthly updates. Moving on to some of the autonomous capabilities for generating agents from app. I'm particularly excited about this functionality as well. It allows us to look at either existing apps that are out there or to create from scratch as well. But what this gives us the ability to do is to look at agents that might sit as dialog boxes on, let's say, a model-driven app that summarizes information about that particular record, or we can have it go through and generate net new agents as well that can go through and look at, let's say, something that sits on a Canvas app to review and monitor records that are being entered into the system. And so it will do that for us autonomously to monitor events like records being updated and created into Dataverse. So really excited about the functionality around agent generation from Power Apps. And all of this really is for naught. If we make it easier for users to create and makers to make, to have agents that are out there doing work either from an embedded perspective or from an autonomous perspective, if we can't fully manage and govern that information. And so there's a lot of excitement around the new managed security and managed operations functionalities that are being added into an all new admin center for the Power Platform. So in the middle, we had our managed environments, and on the left and right are the new kids that are on the street for the Power Platform Admin Center. And so we've got these new experiences that are going to help us manage security to help give us a good picture or dashboard for our posture, and to have transparent scoring for how at risk the organization is based on the different configurations that we've got set up in the admin center. And then on the right, we can carry that all the way through to our ALM and our ability to have standards for the solution checker, as well as to be able to observe and monitor the health of applications. And so that takes us into our security and governance announcements. And Tom's TLDR for this, the big one that the biggest, most obvious one is the overhaul to the admin center that unifies governance, security, and operations. The main points of interest for me in the Ignite announcements was the all-new security hub that allows us to take a look at the security posture of the organization through transparent health scoring, as well as recommendations for how to remediate those things. The addition of advanced connector policies for our data loss prevention, the addition of functionality for more discrete guest access management, and a really popular one, which is VNet support, that can help to replace the complexity that comes along with installing and configuring on-prem gateways. From a governance perspective, the top highlights that I called out were the addition of environment groups that can be used with existing and in-place functionality for environment routing. The addition of functionality to manage our inventory of assets. So our inventory of all of our apps and automates and copilots from one centralized location. And then the licensing hub, which is incredibly helpful for us to see what our consumption looks like from a Power Platform perspective, and then to manage new license requests for our makers. And then on the ops side, what I noted was really just an improved experience for both admin approved deployment pipelines amongst both makers and admins, and then added functionality for monitoring the health of our Power Platform assets for both makers and admins. So quickly going through the new introductions to the Power Platform Admin Center. Really because there's so much information that's being released coming out of Ignite. I've put some stars next to what I would identify in my TLDR. You'll see that we have the ability to manage advanced connector policies and perform network isolation with our VNet, as well as improved rigor around identity and access management for establishing IP firewalls, cookie binding, and then things like privileged access management and conditional access. As well on the right, and deep integration into Microsoft Sentinel, which will work in conjunction with things like Dataverse auditing to detect anomalies when there are abnormal data swings, such as bulk delete operations, or if there, for example, is unusual activity around app deletion, or unusual detection around app changes. So taking a look at the Security Hub, here's an overview of what that looks like. What you'll notice is transparent, clear indications of the security score, 0 being rated on the least secure, 100 as the most secure, and then of course we will provide transparent actions at the bottom on what actions you can take to increase that security score and how it will improve the organization's overall health. What you are looking at is the brand new Power Platform Admin Center, along with the new functionality, and we'll call out when these bits of functionality are set to be rolled out. A lot of this is going to be GA, and you'll see that noted on these slides. Where it's not noted, be in touch with your technical specialists here at Microsoft, and we'll be sure to work with you on the timing of those new pieces of functionality. Another area that I called out was the addition of advanced connector policies. You'll note that we're going away from business and non-business to an allow list of either allowed or not allowed. And you'll have the ability to use these advanced connector policies in conjunction with some new governance capabilities around environment groups. I think this will provide tremendous scalability for our enterprise customers. Also of call out is what I think is going to be something that all of us that have administered Power Platform that have struggled with, the ability to create isolated guest access. And so we've got a brand new functionality around access control for managing guest access. At the conference, this one got quite a bit of applause when we talked about the addition of Power Platform VNet support, where we can now take advantage of Azure VNet to manage access to our on-prem resources. And you'll note that out of the box, these are going to be the natively supported connectors with more functionality to be added in future releases. Under managed governance, I've called out the addition of environment groups, where we can leverage groups for managing and securing access to those connected resources, and that will tie nicely into existing functionality for environment routing. I'm particularly excited about the Inventory Explorer. That bit of functionality is I didn't see that it's generally available yet, but will be coming soon. And then the licensing agent has been a really nice addition as well. You know, we're coming up on time here, so I want to be mindful of that. From a maker inventory, this is one that I wanted to call out. I did not note that it's generally available, so we will be in touch with you as that functionality is released. You'll note that you've got one centralized place as an admin to take a look at all of the assets. I think that this is an awesome piece of functionality, and I'm so glad that this will be coming soon. You'll have the ability to search and filter on all of this information for the different item types, environments, and different environment types as well. And the licensing hub, this one got a lot of rounds of applause as we were talking about this as well, where you can take a look at your licensing footprint and consumption across the entire portfolio of products for Power Platform. And then lastly, we've got managed operations. So the big takeaways that I had here are improved experiences for managing pipelines for both the maker as well as for the admin as well. So as we're submitting our changes, we've now got experiences with more rigor inside the Power Platform for managing our deployment pipelines. And then, of course, we've added functionality for both the makers and the admin to monitor the health of the apps and to take recommendations and actions on those things. So we'll have the ability to look at things like open success rates, and then as we are investigating errors or issues along with that, we can take a look at, as makers, on what we need to do to correct and remediate those problems. Andrew, I think it's time for me to kick it back to you so that we can wrap up this session for the Masters Series.
Yes, of course. Yeah, thank you, Tom, for your topics there. And everybody else, Joanna and David, thank you again for your great highlights there from the Ignite conference. Feel free, we've got some polls coming in here shortly, just to kind of highlight any announcements that you think will affect your organization here. So please drop your answer there on the poll, as long as another one that, if they want to dive into any specific subjects around that we talked about here today, please also fill that out as well. So that'll give us some great feedback and can help us kind of hone in on the next topics that we'll hit in our next few series here. To do some final housekeeping, I'm going to share my screen. So give me 1 second. You guys can check out those polls while I'm bringing this up. Share my screen here. So once again, thanks to our team here for giving us a quick highlight of our Power Platform Ignite announcements. This session will be posted on our Master Series site. I'll have that as a link here shortly. It'll be another QR code, or you can follow the link. If you use that QR code, that should take you to the same place. That's where this session will be. We'll post both the recording and the slide deck that we're using here today, so you guys can review going forward or share with your own teams as necessary. Also, I just wanted to highlight our next series coming up next month. Let me see if I can actually get my slides here to work. Our next series will be in January, so we're going to take a break after the holiday season here, but definitely sign up for this one if you or your team is interested in Copilot Studio, or that's all you're working in all day nowadays. That seems to be what I talk about a lot here as well. Please join us. We have our incredible Copilot Studio, one of our Copilot Studio architects joining, Dwayne Robinson. He's going to be talking about some of the new features as well that have come out with Copilot Studio here in the last few months, and specifically Ignite. I cannot recommend joining this one more. You guys might have recognized him from some of his YouTube videos. He's the Copilot dude on YouTube. I know a lot of people refer to his videos just for everyday things they're trying to build in Copilot Studio. So sign up for this one as well. Hit that QR code down there in the bottom. I think David's dropped a link into the chat here as well, so that you can get to both the upcoming event and get to our site for the previously recorded sessions. So really great one coming up in January. Sign up now so you don't forget. I know the holidays are coming up, so we all get busy and out of office, and this will get you signed up currently. So once again, thank you all for your time. Thank you to our speakers, David, Tom, and Joanna, for all you guys contributed here today, and we appreciate your time and energy. Thank you all.